Hello, John. Good morning again. Indeed. Yes. We had some technical troubles on this end and lost our wireless signal all of a sudden. Is this thing on? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? That yeah, we all of a sudden no more wireless signal. I don't know what's going on with that, but we pivoted here. Yay! I'm back! Yay! So that was weird. It was I think it was inevitable at some point we were gonna get whammied here. Hey, good morning again. If there's people that you saw here earlier, good morning Priscilla, good morning Irene, Kristen, hello. Yes, good morning, Jamie. I hope you're healing well. Hope you're doing well. If you don't know, Jamie had some surgery this last week and is recovering well, but she is in our prayers and we're holding her tight. Thank you. Nice haircut. Yeah. Yeah. They won't cut the beard though. Like, come on now. Like, Daddy needs some love here. Come on. So, I know DDoS attack for FCC Fall River. Truth. They're out to get us, whoever they are. So it is. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you. So glad you're here. Finding your way back. If there's somebody else that was on this chat that you don't see, shoot him a text. Bring him here. We'll hang out for one more minute. So good to see people. I'm wondering how Vicky's doing with her dog Macy has not been well, and so if you see her in your travels, please reach out to her. That is a sadness for sure. Good morning, Fannie Faye Davis. Hello. Matthew P. McDonald. Hello. So welcome. Great to see everybody. Thank you for being here today. We are on the 16th day of June. I had to remind myself for a second. 16th day of June. It is a Tuesday. Welcome everyone, and it is my hope that you are not as disoriented as I am this morning, and all that's happening, and all that's moving through the world. So it's been this morning was a challenge getting connected. So these things do happen. Part of the chaos of the world, in which I think we're all a little grabbled up in these days. So it is a joy to see each one of your faces as we gather here. And I want to talk this morning about this text from Deuteronomy. I was actually going to talk about something else this morning, but Facebook reminded me of a study that we did years ago that was on a book and by the name of Ira Byock. And it's this book called The Four Things That Matter Most, a book about living. Ira Byock is an interesting guy. He is a at this now he's kind of an author and speaker, but he spent years as a hospice chaplain, or not a hospice chaplain, as a hospice doctor, helping and shepherd people from this life to the next life, and helping people transition into that. And people at end of life, the people themselves at end of life often kind of, we know how to do this. We're not, medical care, prevention of pain, all of that is important stuff. I mean, and that's real, but there is a wisdom and a way in which we are ushered out of this world, just in the same way that there's a wisdom in a way that we come into this world. Of babies know how to be born, and that's not to say it isn't dangerous, doesn't need medical care. Not my point. It is to say that when it's time, and they come. And the same way when we leave this world, that is often the case. Byock, however, spent a lot of his time as a physician caring for families, because that's what you do. Having spent time in hospice care and working as a chaplain in a hospice setting, it is care of the families and the people who are being ushered out of this world, that those that love them are really often the points of care. And Bayok took the culmination of his wisdom, and he wrote a book called The Four Things That Matter Most. And his four things, I thought, they're just so powerful. But they all, and I'll tell you what they are in a second. So don't worry, I won't just leave you hanging with that. But what I think is more important, and this is not, just as his book is titled. I'm talking about end of life right now, but it's not about dying. It's about living. It's about how we live through the fullness of our life and the fullness of our days, through the chaos of the world and the challenges that come with it. So Bayok's four things. He says these four things. These are the most, when you have somebody in your life that you may never see again, or at least in this side of the veil, and this side of the world, and this side of, he says there are four things that you can consider talking to them about. There are four things that you can consider saying, that they matter the most, and I found these incredibly wise. Not just for living, in terms of how we're gonna have that last final moment with those people we love, but also for just how we move through our days, about the inventory that we take. That it's almost Ignatian in a way, like the Ignatian spirituality of this examining spirituality, and the great and the people who picked up on that, who I think were really the separatists and the Congregationalists, who this life of examination, of looking at your life, and looking at the way that you are, and looking at the relationships in your life, and how clear are they? How clean are they? How right are they? Because the mirrors, the way we keep the covenant with the people in our life is not dissimilar to the way we keep our covenant with God Himself. And so this covenant keeping, I think, comes into this, and I think these are four beautiful things. So part of what I just want to do is offer them to you today, and remind you of them, because I think they're beautiful. But I also want to talk a little bit about how he ends this book, because I think how he ends it is so critically important of how we look at our life and our lives as people who move through the world with an eye towards spirit, and people who seek to be in relationship with this Jesus guy. So the four things. How am I doing? Are you on the edge of your seat yet? I hope you are. So the four things. He says the first thing is, please forgive me. This notion that we might start our relationships or end our relationships with the notion that they've been imperfect, that they haven't been perfect in their being, and that there are things that I need forgiveness for, in the way that I've treated people, in the way that I've been things, the way that I've fallen short, the things that I've done, and the things that I've left undone, that we might examine ourselves and simply seek forgiveness from the person that we're parting with. The second thing he says is, I forgive you. And it's a bold statement, I think. And I think it's a beautiful one. It's that often that we too have our list of things of the way in which our relationships were imperfect in our life. That they weren't all the things that we were hoping they would be, even if they were just basic things, and that we let go of those things. And we say, I forgive you. I forgive you for all the things that I had in my head were supposed to be a particular way, and ended up not being that way at all. And the third thing is, thank you, is that we might offer our gratitude for the relationship we've had with a person in our life. That we might offer our gratitude for the people that we've journeyed with this world with. And that we might say to them, and in real and concrete ways, the things that we are grateful for in their life and in ours. And then the last is, I love you. That we might say to one another, that magical phrase of that they have mattered in our life, that they made a difference, that they made a dent in shaping who and what we are as people, and that by virtue of that we offer them our love and our caring. It wasn't perfect on our part, it wasn't perfect on their part, and yet there are still so many things to be grateful for, and in that gratitude that we declare our love for them. This little practice, I think, is actually revolutionary in one of the ways it can, in its clarity. I mean, there's nothing new here in the spiritual walk about these four things, but the way Bayak presents them and he holds them, I think, is actually really lovely and really wonderful. And he has this quote at the end of his book, which I want to offer you now, that I think because I think it is right. It is a beautiful encapsulation of what God first says to the Israelites when they are coming to receive the law, when they're coming into full relationship with God for the first time, and is this simple question of life and death, this simple lesson of birth and joy, this simple lesson of goodness and loss, this simple lesson of all the things that are placed before us in life, and our embracing of them or our rejecting of them in death or in goodness. And so he says this. He says, this is one of the quotes from the end of his book. Life presents us with a choice. I actually posted this morning because it came up in my memories, and sometimes I'm really thankful for that memory thing on Facebook. It says, life presents us with a choice. We can choose to protect ourselves from emotional pain, or we can acknowledge our vulnerability and open ourselves to loss that love will ultimately entail. We can choose to protect ourselves from emotional pain, or we can acknowledge our vulnerability and open ourselves to loss, and that love will ultimately entail. That love will entail loss. If you love something, we will lose it. I mean, that's the Buddhist whole idea of, all life is suffering. If you're going to love something, eventually it's going to go, no matter what it is. And that in that will be grief, and in that will be loss, and yet in that is also life. In Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, as the Israelites stand before God, God has these words for them. Surely this commandment that I am commanding you today is not too hard for you, nor is it too far away. It is not in heaven that you should say, who will go up to heaven for us and get it so that we can hear it and observe it? Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who will cross over to the other side of the sea and get it for us so that we may hear it and observe it? No, the word is very near to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart to observe. Oh, so good. See, I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and adversity. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am commanding you today, by loving the Lord your God, walking in his ways, observing his commands, decrees, and ordinances, then you shall live and become numerous, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land that you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away and you do not hear, but you are led astray to bow down to other gods and to serve them, I declare to you today that you shall perish, and you shall not live long in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. Friends, I don't know about you, but we're crossing over into a new land. We're crossing over into a new place. We're crossing over a new way. Like in that crossing, in that being, in this sense, these relationships, these ways of keeping clear the decks of what we love, who loves us and who doesn't love us, of our being and our not being, of our joy and our not joy, place before us life and death. Place before us life and goodness, or death and evil. And so today, my invitation to you is Take up those tasks of self-forgiveness and other forgiveness. Take up those tasks of thanksgiving. Take up those tasks of saying, I love you to those around you and those you've encountered. Maybe pick up Bayak's book, whatever it is that will call you to these days. But remember that life and death are not over the sea the way we think they are. They're not even out of this crazy time. They're right here and they're right now. They are on the words and they are on our hearts. Friends, let your words and your hearts reflect the forgiveness and the thanksgiving and the love of God in all of those that you're encountering in these days, and all of those that are with you, and all of those that you're saying goodbye to in these days, and there are some, and all those that you've been called to come alongside and journey with as a pilgrim. So I know. So that's that is my hope and my thought for you today. Is that we might be people of the covenant in our journeying. So it's my. I hope you will. I am frustrated and by the world of the tech that keeps betraying us, and I'm quite sure we're getting some sort of DDoS attack. I think Matt's right, and that we're in this place where even the windows of the world are rattling, but our hearts do not rattle, and our words do not rattle. For on them is the law and the love of the one who made us. So, friends, I have a great day. We will pick it up tomorrow. It is Wednesday, Hump Day, and please say prayers for Jamie as she's healing. Say prayers for Macy as Vicky's dog, and Vicky as she hasn't been well in these days. And for Shelby and who's home healing as well. So hold them in your hearts and your prayers. And so it is my hope that and I am ever thankful for each one of you being on this journey with us today. All right. Peace and grace, friends. We'll see you tomorrow.